Hi, my name is Roberto Torres and I welcome you all to Practical ChatGPT Solutions. Today what we're going to see is how to solve a problem that it is related to either personal or work life, and I mean communication. Communication basically is a foundation to solve any problem between two people, between two persons, between two companies. You name it. Actually, communication is so essential in life that without it, you cannot have a good relationship in the end. Okay, so let's go to the slide. Okay, so before giving you the context of the problem, let's see our methodology. Okay, we have our over here, and we have these four steps. The first one, express; second, context; third, target audience; and fourth, tone, and several other ones which to be optional. Okay, so let's begin with the first one, which is expert. So I'm right now in ChatGPT, and I will say, I want you to act as a work coach. Which is a work coach? What is a work coach? A work coach is a person who specializes in different soft skills, which could apply them to the lowest level of a company, up to the highest one. You know, maybe to a CEO or maybe the C level, regardless of the size of the company. It could be a startup, it could be a small and medium business, it could be a transnational, a big worldwide corporation. Okay, so in this case, I'm asking ChatGPT to be a work coach because we're focusing on a soft skill, which is communication. We go to the second step, which is context. And before I begin writing, let me explain you what is the context. You might find it maybe useful. And let me tell you. Back in 1998, I was working at a bank. I was mostly an engineer, a programmer, and I wanted to become a manager. I had that itch. I was looking for to become one, and suddenly there was a company that gave me that opportunity. It was a startup at the beginning, and even though startup, that words weren't coined back then, we were a startup, an imaging startup. So I was hired as the system manager, and there was the first employee, the employee that was hired first, which was the operations manager. Well, I had several communications problems with this manager. One of them could be related to my immaturity, because one of the hardest things about a human being is acknowledging that you made a mistake. And I'm acknowledge that I had made some mistakes when I was young, because I was a newbie, I was a newbie manager, and I had a lack of knowledge which I have right now. But in the end, some of the errors that I had back then was because of myself, and the other ones were related to the operation manager. So let's begin creating this context. So we could provide it to ChatGPT. Okay, so the context of the problem was that back at 1998, I was a systems manager for a startup which its core business was imaging, which was back at that time we digitalized paper documents into images. Okay, so was imaging. The first employee of this startup was the operations manager, and I had several problems with him regarding communication. Some of those were related to my immaturity, and some of those were related to his lack of commitment. Okay, so with this is a mild context. We're going to explore more, but let's go further with the methodology. Okay, so we're going to aim the target audience. Even though this problem was 25 years ago, this problem could be for someone who is maybe a new manager, who jumped from a lead position, maybe a senior or a lead position, to being a manager, which was myself back at that time. So maybe you will feel related with this problem. Okay, so the target audience. So excuse me that I said too many souls. Well, the thing is, our target audience must be someone who to be related to this. The target audience will be people who have recently become managers, and let me think. Regardless the previous position they had before. These people will want to know how to avoid this kind of problems, as well as how to solve them if they appear to them in the future. Also, they should be between 25 to 35 years old. But at that time, I was 28 years old, so I feel related to this. And the last step, it is the tone. Okay? The tone has to be the tone has to be related to learning, not formal, but as an assurance of the lessons to be learned. Okay, got it. So we have the 4 steps. Now, excuse me for that. One thing that is important before we go into the context is to see which are the optional steps that we might be creating or using. Style, in this case, I find there is no need for style, neither analogy nor emotions, even though that there could be. In this case, I feel that it shouldn't be. But I think that things to avoid, it is important. So The things to avoid shall be not to be condescending and not to be reprimanded, not to be, excuse me, not reprimanded, not to be obtuse. Okay, why am I doing this? This is for, let's imagine that a work coach has learned of the problem and is trying to give you some answers which will guide you through your future, that you will acknowledge the problem that you made and the solutions which these people might give you or might provide you. But most important of all, it is the knowledge so you could use it in the future. Okay, so if by any chance you have these mistakes again, or you have these errors again, you won't feel bad. That's why I mentioned this. Okay. Also, format. Let's put on like this. The format has to be as a table. There will be these columns. Okay. The problem, the consequences, the solutions. No, hold. Yes, the solutions that were taken in place. The contra arguments we will provide, and finally the solutions if you think the solutions that would have been implemented. Okay, so with that we have the format, the length, it is no needed, examples, no sources, but I think counter arguments it is. So that's why I asked it over here. And the counter arguments, a counter argument is basically this: two people have different opinions about a subject, about a topic. So they begin discussing about it until they found the solution, they find a compromise, and they can move forward. Okay, so in this case we will have contra arguments if it's needed. Okay, with that we have go further with this methodology, and what I will do is to explain a couple of problems that I had with this manager back then and what I did and the solutions between codes that I had. Okay, so I'll explain the two biggest problems that I faced back then. Okay, the first one shall be, first I will talk to you about it, and then I will write it. The first problem was that, as I mentioned, it was my first gig as a manager. I was so happy, I was so enthusiastic, and I had a lot of stamina. in this job. I got early. I used to work later hours after my shift ended, as if you could say this, and I spent excuse me, and I spent maybe a Saturday going 3, 4, or 5 hours at morning work. I was really really happy at this, but the operations manager weren't like me. He was like, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 years older than myself, and what he had was that he was so lazy. He got he got to work at the hour that we were beginning at work, and when maybe let's say that we stopped working at 6 or 1, he left, no, and he had too many problems, but let me go with this. So the first problem was, since the operations manager wasn't doing everything that he was supposed to do, I began doing some of his stuff within my responsibilities. That brought a problem in which, rather than being 100% of my time doing my stuff, I was having 150% of work. I was having 150% of work related to my department and operations as well. The solution that solved this was that after a couple of months, I spoke with the CEO. He gathered us and he made it clear that we shouldn't be doing work from the other departments. With this, the operations manager began working more and providing the deliveries that my department required. Okay, let's go to the second topic of that. Before this operations manager was fired, maybe 2 or 3 months after this problem was solved. A new operation manager got it. Okay, the second problem was that we have meetings. We have meetings between the operations team and the systems teams back then, or what it would be right now, engineering team. And the problem was that even though we had these meetings and so maybe some agreements were made, there weren't a written document back then in which had the minute, all these people from this team were, all these people from the other team well. We talk about this and all the different agreements that with specific dates and deliverables were negotiated. The problem that we weren't having that. So let me explain and let's see what was done. The meetings we had with operations had a problem. Neither systems nor operations were writing down a minute with all aspects of the meeting itself. The problem with this approach was that after the meeting, we at the systems department were lost about what we had to deliver and what we were expecting to receive. So I began going with all the people involved at those meetings to gather the information, but the problem was that some people knew what we had to do and other ones only remember a fraction about it. The solution was that I bought a book which talked about having efficient meetings, and for every meeting further that we had, there was a person designated by each department to be the one who wrote everything related to that minute, to the minute, and after the meeting was over, this person had from 30 minutes to 1 hour to send the minute in the format we both departments defined, and when I want to send a minute in the format both departments defined, and to send it through email. Okay, so in this case, this was the solution back then, but the problem was that we had some problems within the communication. These two topics are related basically to communication. One was my eagerness to do more stuff. The problem as well was that this operation manager was so lazy about it, and also we lacked a proper structure for the meetings and everything as I related it here. So let's hit enter and see what ChatGPT provides us as an answer. Okay, so it has given us this table, as I mentioned, with the problem, the consequences, the solution that were taken in place, and the contra arguments and the solutions that would have been implemented. Okay? Let me drink some water. Okay. Reading this fast, okay. The first one, if I go straight to the contra arguments column, while the CEO's intervention was effective, it might have reflected poorly your leadership skills and ability to handle conflicts internally. Totally. And the solution that would have been implemented, develop open communication with the operations manager and discuss responsibilities and tasks before escalating to the CEO. Great, okay. The second problem was inefficient meetings without clear minutes. The contra-argument, relying on a book alone might not cover all the nuances of effective meetings, and assigning a note-taker may not be feasible in every situation. The solutions that will have been implemented will have been establish clear agendas and expectations for meetings, and considering using project management software for tracking tasks and responsibilities. And there is like a footnote over here. I think even though this solution would have been okay, I think that the problem within the inefficient meetings was also that not everybody was a proper team member to gather the meetings. So let me explain further. There are three different learning styles within all the people around the world. The first one, it is visual. You know, it comprises 60% of worldwide population. That means that the visual people has to be the ones that has to read something, you know, to see something on a board, on a computer, and write it down, you know, visually. 35% of worldwide population, it is uses auditive style of learning. That means that they don't require to see something; they require to listen. So maybe at a Zoom or a Google Meet meeting, maybe if someone says something to another people, they will learn from that rather than writing it down. And finally, the 5% which is left, it is a kinesthetic people, you know, kinesthetic learning style, and that is the people who requires to interact with this kind of knowledge. So maybe you remember back at school that there was a kind of people which raise their hands and say, I want to write this down, or these math problems, or this chemistry, biology on the whiteboard, you know. These kind of people are kinesthetic. So the problem back then at the meetings was that not everybody had this, you know, because when we had these meetings, there was no writing in the meeting, you know, in the board. The problem was with the visual people, you know, which was expecting this and might not be audited. The thing about me is I'm 100% visual, but I'm 0% an other guy. So it is a challenge for me. So let me grab from these solutions a contra argument to ChatGPT, so she could give us maybe another kind of solution. Okay, so okay. excuse me, I'm not talking. Not everybody has the same learning style. Those people who are not auditive might face a problem by establishing clear agendas and expectations. If there are not something written in a board or an application that allows that at the meetings, which argument you think of this, or which solution do you propose? Okay, counter-argument. Establishing clear agendas and expectations for meetings may not cater to all learning styles, potentially leaving some team members unclear about the meeting outcomes or their responsibilities. So the solution is to accommodate different learning styles, considering combining verbal communication of agendas and expectations with visual aids such as presentations, whiteboards, or handouts during meetings. Nice. Additionally, providing written summaries of the key points and action items after the meeting can help ensure all team members have a clear understanding of their responsibilities. Utilizing project management software can further assist in keeping everyone on the same page, as it offers a centralized location for task assignments, progress updates, and resource allocation. Even though back then, I'm saying 25 years ago, back in 1988, there were less applications of those ones that ChatGPT mentions this right now. It is feasible to accomplish this. So I think that with this, we could have these problems solved. And I trust that you like this video. If you did it, please give me a thumbs up, please subscribe, and we're going to explore more real world cases in the future. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.